So I'm Dr. Sharn Rocco, mostly known as Sharn, and I'm from Australia, and I'm very happy to be here in Ljubljana. I'm very sorry that I can't be at the conference in September, but this is a great opportunity to speak to people here about my work and my passion for mindfulness, for self-care, and especially for education and healthcare. So I began practicing mindfulness as I completed my PhD. A friend introduced me to Buddhist texts that talked about the value of meditation and mindfulness, and after years of reading, I finally convinced myself that I should practice. And so I've been practicing for over 10 years. At that time, I was a teacher educator in a regional university in Australia. And I soon realised that this would have great value for education. So I began to practice in my working life. Subsequently, I have completed my career as a teacher educator in the formal sense of being an academic in a university. And at the end of my career, I had begun a research interest in mindfulness and meditation in health and education. That led me to train to teach mindfulness-based stress reduction, which, as most people will know, is world-renowned and the most commonly researched practice of mindfulness in a secular sense, developed by John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. So that enabled me then, on completing my academic career, to start teaching mindfulness as a secular practice in the community and in education. I've been very fortunate to have lots of opportunities and go on to adapt that mindfulness-based stress reduction course for particular populations and for busy people who are unable to commit to 8 weeks of classes, and so I've devised some shorter courses, and very happy to say that people experience great benefit, and I have the opportunity to continue to work with teachers. So I'd just like to talk first of all a little bit about mindfulness for self-care, as this applies to everybody, and everybody can do it anywhere because it costs nothing. It's just a matter of committing to practice. So the practice is quite simple, deceivingly simple. The most important thing is remembering to do it. But let me just first say something about how I frame mindfulness. Mindfulness is a popular term used in all sorts of settings for all sorts of reasons now, which is wonderful. A Google search now brings tens of thousands of results, whereas when I first began, I was lucky to get a page or two. So I actually derived the definition of mindfulness that I use as a working reference point from the mindfulness-based stress reduction course, in that John Kabat-Zinn's definition of mindfulness is the most published, and that is that mindfulness is a particular way of paying attention on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. So why I like that is it's simple, it's easy to remember, and also that it actually brings together the 3 key elements of mindfulness, and that is intention, attention, and attitude. So when we're practicing mindfulness, we're doing it intentionally. It's a purposeful activity. We know that's what we are intending to do, to be present in the moment. We're directing our attention intentionally to what we intend to pay attention to, and we're doing it with this friendly, non-judgmental attitude. And that friendly, non-judgmental attitude can take on different forms, and as I teach and practice more and more, I really feel that this attitude is really important, because it brings this heartful aspect of mindfulness that often is overlooked, particularly as mindfulness is becoming corporatized. So by having this attitude of friendly, non-judgmental awareness, of acceptance, of letting go, of being goalless, non-striving, it really shifts the way we approach our experience and ourselves. So as we engage in this practice and pay attention to what's happening, we actually soften to ourselves, and in softening to ourselves, we soften to others. So this really is an inspiring and healthful and heartful practice. So we can do it anywhere, anytime. But I also have a great faith that engaging in formal practice really supports informal practice. And people come at this different ways. Many people approach the practice informally at first, thinking, I will just go for a walk and really pay attention to what's happening right now as I walk and notice when I'm not paying attention. And we can do that walking from the car to the house, from the car to the office, walking in the park, wherever we are anytime. We can just feel our steps on the ground. We can feel the air on our skin, the sun on our skin, the colours. We can even use an intention like, I will notice everything pink as I walk, as a way of coming back to the present moment and really paying attention to our environment. So we can use these little strategies to just keep bringing us back. So one of the misconceptions is that it's about paying attention constantly all the time, but the mind is not like that. And we're conditioned to be distracted and go all over the place all the time. So when we're being intentional, it's very helpful to have somewhere we're intending to place our attention. So I will notice things pink. I will notice the sound of my feet on the gravel. I will notice the feeling of the air on my skin, or notice what I can smell. And we do all of it non-judgmentally. So whatever we think about the sound or the colour or the smell or what comes up in our mind, it's just, that's interesting, no problem. Yeah, it's letting go of the judgment, our preferences and so on. So we can do that walking, we can do that washing the dishes, and we can do that ironing. Ironing's one of my favourite stories because I used to hate ironing. And then I decided maybe I can befriend ironing. So what if I just pay attention to ironing? And make it like a practice and say, okay, well, I've got that pile of ironing that I keep avoiding because I don't like ironing. And so maybe I'll just set my timer for 10 minutes and really pay attention to ironing. I discovered I like ironing. Who would have thought? If I pay attention, I notice that I'm moving my body like this, and that's quite a nice rhythm. I can smell the nice clean fabric and feel a little bit of the heat, and that's quite pleasant. I love clothes and fabrics, and when I iron, they visibly look and feel better. So I discovered ironing can be quite pleasant. Who would have thought? So we can do this anywhere, anytime, and just remember it's about staying present, intentionally paying our attention, being non-judgmental, and notice what happens moment to moment in us and around us. So our habit is to direct our attention outward and be judgmental. So this helps us just come in a little bit, probably notice that we're a bit tough on ourselves often, and let go of those judgments and just allow it to be. And of course, when we set our intention to be non-judgmental, the first thing we're likely to notice is how judgmental we actually are and how judgmental we are of ourselves. And if we can bring friendly, open non-judgment to that, befriend ourselves, when we're a better friend to ourselves, we can be a better friend to everything and everyone. More able to be present to ourselves, we can be present to other people, present to our environment with this same open, friendly curiosity without judgment, just allowing things to be as they are and unfold, greet everything with this sense of affectionate curiosity. So that in and of itself is great self-care, and it will be supported, this spontaneously arising intention to pay attention with friendly, non-judgmental curiosity will also be supported by formal practice. So I really encourage people, as a part of self-care and a part of developing this sense of bringing mindfulness to life wherever we are, to find a way to have some intentional formal practice on a daily basis. And I always say, choose an amount of time you can't talk yourself out of. So any practice is better than no practice. And often when we come to this through the traditions, as I have, then, you know, it's sort of like, oh, if I haven't got half an hour a day, or if I haven't got an hour, then I can't really practice. But in fact, if we start with what we can do, I can't talk myself out of 5 minutes. So I can think, oh, I haven't got time for practice. But then I go, oh, it's only 5 minutes. So I can set my timer for 5 minutes and sit down and just be completely present to myself and intend just for that 5 minutes to keep my awareness on the sensations of my breath entering and leaving my body. And when I notice I'm distracted, I know I've been distracted. I know that's a point of coming to awareness, and I come back to paying attention to my breath with friendly, non-judgmental curiosity, befriending the breathing and befriending the distraction, and just keep coming back, letting go, coming back for 5 minutes. And then having got into the discipline of that for 5 days a week for 5 weeks or something, I might go, oh, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then build it up so that then maybe after some time I may have a practice of 10, 20, 30 minutes a day. And then it is my personal experience that that spontaneously arising mindfulness actually grows out of that practice. So I don't even need to intend to walk mindfully, I notice I am. So, and I don't need to intend to be, nice to that person who irritates me. I just am, or I see the irritation arise and then I let it go very quickly. So I might be irritated because I'm human and I have all those causes and conditions of whatever make me irritated. But what I notice now is once upon a time I'd stay irritated for days going over that event in my mind, like, why did I say that? Why did she say that? Or whatever the case may be. And now I might remember the event the next day and think, gee, I haven't thought about that since it happened. That's like amazing. And I know, I know in my heart that is the discipline of practice over time. So that in itself is great self-care. I feel better. I'm sure the people around me feel better because I'm not neat at them in my mind or literally. And so many little things that we can do to actually just use this simple, accessible, free practice just by remembering to do it. And so everything gets better. We can befriend pain, we can befriend sleeplessness, and by not forcing anything to go away, to be otherwise, just get curious about it. What are these sensations I call pain? Or what is this thing, sleeplessness? And maybe discover, as I have, that actually, the worrying about sleeplessness aggravates the sleeplessness. If I can accept, oh, I'm not going to sleep, so what, who cares? Just rest. I'm likely to fall asleep. And if I can just see pain as an accumulation of sensations that I don't like, and therefore I'm pushing them away, I'm making them an enemy. Whereas if I can get curious and go, oh, what are these sensations? Oh, they're there. Oh, they're a bit solid. Oh, they've got heat in the middle and kind of they're vague around the outside, or whatever it might be, then it just becomes a point of interest. And also, one of the things that we know from the research is that this practice of mindfulness develops cognitive flexibility. So if in fact when I look at the pain, it's too difficult, I've developed this ability to place my intention where I want it. So if I don't want it there, I can then go, okay, not there, that's too hard today. I'll pay attention to my breath, or I'll pay attention to the coolness on my skin, or whatever I want to pay attention to. And both those things, the paying attention with open curiosity and the ability to shift attention, are very useful. Not to mention just being able to stay with what we've intended to stay with for the amount of time we've intended to stay there, rather than getting all our time sucked up into something that we didn't intend to spend so much time on, either mentally or physically. And so life just flows so much more easily. And that is the heart of mindfulness and self-care.